Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The App. And I always have to say this, the app is nothing to do with computers. It stands for ArkLaTex People and Politics. We like to speak to everybody we can along the political spectrum. And today our special guest is State Senator Alan Seabaugh. He represents District 31. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff. Looking forward to it. Good to see you this morning.
Absolutely. This is your second time being with us on the podcast, but the first one was with Moon Grafan. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
I appreciated that. So lots to talk about. You're going into a session. Just had failure of some constitutional amendments at the ballot box. And the big one was, of course, Amendment 2, dealing with all kinds of tax reform. And that failed pretty resoundingly. So the people have spoken, but how does that shape what will take place in this upcoming session?
Well, it does shape it. Luckily, this is a fiscal session, and some of what was in Amendment 2 were fiscal issues. So what we heard from a lot of people was there was too much in the bill. Yeah. We could break it up, and I think the plan is to break it up into smaller segments and present it as multiple bills. But you got to look at the amendments as a whole. Number 4 really wasn't controversial, but 1 and 3 drove a lot of the opposition. Amendment number 1 was going to allow us to set up specialty courts. That what we were mirroring it off of, Texas has a business court to deal with business issues, which a lot of district courts are not set up for. So Texas has a business court. We were planning to do something along that line. Yeah. For some reason, the trial lawyers became convinced that we were going to have a special insurance court or a court dealing with legacy lawsuits against the oil and gas companies. Right. We were going to set up some special court to deal with those, and they poured a ton of money into it. And then Amendment number 3 dealt with juvenile justice. Right. And there was misinformation about, we weren't changing anything, but it was necessary to move it out of the Constitution because they had itemized lists of crimes that could be prosecuted, juveniles could be prosecuted as adults. Mm-hmm. But over the course of years since that was put in the Constitution, we've actually changed the names of some of those crimes. Okay. Like we used to speak in terms of aggravated and forcible, and then we changed it to first degree and second degree. Well, the Constitution still has the old language. Okay. So we just needed to amend the Constitution so that the language matched.
Gotcha.
But some people became convinced that it was going to be a great expansion of prosecuting juveniles as adults, and people were against that. So they just all teamed up to just vote no on all of them. And so you had the trial lawyer money, you had the Power Coalition, all the George Soros groups, and you had the teachers and everybody else with misinformation on what Amendment number 2 was going to do. People were confused by it all. It just became easy to vote no on all 3. Gotcha. And there was a little bit of an undercurrent we got from a lot of people that they just don't trust us.
Yeah, I heard that from some of your colleagues.
Just don't trust you.
Yeah.
Fully understand that. There's been very little reason to trust the Louisiana legislature over the last 100 years. Yeah. A lot of it was personal to the governor. But I think it's safe to say that the failure of those amendments signals that Jeff Landry's honeymoon is probably over. Mm-hmm. If he was still in a honeymoon period, they probably would have passed. So he bears some personal responsibility. I think the media campaign to push the amendments was very, very bad. It started way too late. The horse had left the barn before they started putting out anything that said vote yes. And I think it was handled very poorly. So, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around currently and in the past, because I think people that don't trust the legislature are completely justified to not trust the legislature. But the difference is what you have right now is 2/3 Republican majorities in both houses, the vast majority of whom are new. So those of us that are there now weren't there 20 years ago. Right. There's really only one guy that was there 20 years ago. It was Francis Thompson, who's been there since the 70s. He's apparently never going to leave. He goes back and forth. But it's all new people. Yeah. So I would suggest give us a little bit of a chance.
Along the lines of juvenile justice, since you brought that up, I want to give you an opportunity to clear something up with the bill you have. Senate Bill 74.
Thank you. Yeah, Senate Bill 74 had nothing to do with what was on the constitutional amendment that was on the ballot regarding renaming the crimes. Senate Bill 74 simply changes where certain trials take place. Okay. If a juvenile is charged with a felony, it says the trial will take place in district court rather than juvenile court. It has nothing to do with whether they're charged as an adult. It has nothing to do with where they would be incarcerated if convicted. It has nothing to do with anything other than moving the trial for certain felonies from juvenile court to district court, which there's only special juvenile courts in 4 parishes. So it really only affects 4 parishes. Caddo happens to be one of them. But it has nothing to do with what was on the ballot with the constitutional amendment.
Okay. Well, I know I didn't hear about it. I didn't even know about it, but some bad information got out there, some from my television
No, the
station.
KTBS story was accurate.
Okay.
I just said they just didn't call me. I didn't know they were doing it. They didn't call me.
Oh.
Another local station did a story that had inaccurate information. Y'all's story was not inaccurate.
Okay.
I was kind of surprised to see it up that nobody called me and asked for a quote or anything. But I do think there was an implication that it somehow had something to do with the constitutional amendment. It didn't, but the reporting on what the bill did was accurate.
Okay, good. Yeah, that part is good to hear.
I appreciate you. Y'all usually get it right.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that as well. Now, obviously, one of the big focal points of this upcoming session is the fiscal session, but it's going to be insurance. I mean, it has to be, right?
Yes.
So, I just to get us yesterday, or as we record this podcast, the day prior, the governor held a news conference to talk about insurance. He talked about a lot of things. It lasted a long time. I have a little chunk of the governor's speech before as things got going here. Let's just listen to that, and then we'll ask you to comment. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
It is actually time for this building to respond in fairness and accountability. And again, bring fairness and accountability into the process. Because again, for far too long inside of this very building, there has been a battle waged between insurance companies and trial lawyers. And where those who are behind me are forced to choose. And let me be clear, I believe both sides have plenty of blame to go around. So today, I'm not here to help any lawyers, and I'm not here to help any insurance companies. I'm here to help the citizens of this state. And so I plan to work on legislation with those behind me to hold both sides accountable. And what I would suggest is a balanced approach that has never been taken place in this building. Never before has the legislature looked at insurance and said, we're going to take a balanced approach. And I believe that it is the only way to bring you relief. To confirm what I believe, I recently went into the field and polled the citizens of our state, and the results that came back tell me that they agree. They agree that both lawyers and insurance companies are equally to blame. They also believe that bad or uninsured drivers are to blame. Those are the top 3 items that our citizens believe basically increase the cost of their automobile insurance. And so again, I refuse to travel down a continual failed road. And so I'm going to again suggest that we take a balanced approach. Instead of passing laws that deal with one side of the scale, under which we've done again and again and again with no relief, I say we adjust the scales. We add fairness and we add accountability. And so here's what the data says. The data says that our accident frequency in this state is in line with the national average. We don't have more car crashes than any other state. We're pretty much in line with the rest of the nation. Our cost to repair those vehicles, again, is in line with the rest of the state. This next data point, I will tell you, shocked even me, because contrary to what we have been told, our injury claim severity is less than the national average. Okay, it's less than the national average. The amount of severe injuries that Louisianans receive in automobile accidents is less than the national average. That, I'll be honest, was a shock even to me. The only outlier in the numbers is minor injury claims, under which Louisiana is almost double the national average.
Well, that was just a part of the governor's speech dealing with the insurance crisis, and you're obviously going to be up to your elbows in this. What's your response or reaction?
Let me start by agreeing with his last point. And I've been saying that for years.
Okay.
Most of the tort reform measures that have come down the pike since I've been there have been dealing with major injury claims, big claims. Mm-hmm. Louisiana's not out of whack on big claims. Louisiana is very out of whack on the little claims, which is that's the last point that the governor made. I've been saying that for years. It's 100% accurate. Louisiana, it is far, far too easy to recover on the $15,000, the $25,000, the $50,000 claim.
Okay.
I was looking at some statistics last night. Huge states much bigger than ours, like Alabama. Alabama has about 25% more population than we do. Their total payout for injuries is about half what ours is.
Wow.
They have more people and they pay out half what we do.
Okay.
And most of that payout is little claims, not big ones.
Okay.
And so we're very out of whack. The other thing I do disagree with the governor on is we've done it again and again and again with no relief. We have not done tort reform. We did true tort reform in the mid-90s, and that's it. Okay. We've tried again and again and again. They just don't pass because the fact of the matter is the trial lawyers control the legislature. They have for years. I don't think they do now. We're going to find out. But they have for years. There's been an outsized influence by trial lawyers and the legislature. So I would love a balanced approach. But what has happened through the years is it has become, it's 85, 90% skewed toward the trial lawyers. And the governor, I do disagree vehemently with, he said the fight is between the trial lawyers and the insurance companies. Mm-hmm. That's not correct. Okay. It's trial lawyers and the business owners who pay the insurance premiums, who pay the claims. It's the trial lawyers and the guy who can't afford the insurance on his truck. It's the trial lawyers and the people who get sued by the trial lawyers. Mm-hmm. Not the insurance companies, but the people who get sued, the business owners who can't afford insurance on their trucks. Yeah. That's who the fight is between. And, again, the trial lawyers have been laughing to the bank for years and years and years, virtually unchecked. So calling it balanced now, that's fine. I'll take balanced because it's so skewed against the business owners, against the individuals who have to pay those premiums. Mm-hmm. We are so far out of whack, and it needs to get fixed.
The key component in every little skirmish that you set up there was the trial lawyers, right?
Absolutely. They are the problem. Yeah. They've been the problem. I think 80% of the people of Louisiana understand that the trial lawyers are the reason their insurance are high. It's not the insurance company's fault. The governor pointed out we don't have more wrecks. What we do have is more claims per accident. Mm-hmm. We have more lawsuits per accident than any other state. And it's not even close. But the one constant factor is the trial lawyers. I'll give you a good example. The governor talks about Texas. We want to do what Texas does. Yeah. In Texas, if you're driving a car and your family members are in the car and you have a wreck, they can't sue you. Louisiana is one of the only states that allows family members to sue a family member under liability for driving the car. Texas, they say if you're related within 2 degrees of consanguinity. We don't have that term in Louisiana law.
I don't even know what that means.
We call immediate family, or we have different definitions. Yeah. But basically, if I'm driving a car and I have a wreck and my kids are in the car, in Louisiana, my kids can sue me, but in no other state can they do that. Yeah. And it's one of the many, many ways in which we're different. And that's what we need to address.
I was going to ask you about the Texas. He in his speech, he brought up the comparisons to Texas many times, saying we want to be more like Texas. Is that fair? I mean, Texas is there's so much more population in Texas.
Well, you can't cherry pick. You can't say we're going to be like Texas here, but not in these other 6 ways. If you want to copy Texas, let's copy Texas across the board. Okay. Let's copy. Texas has modified comparative fault. Governor has said he would not sign a modified comparative fault bill. He loves Texas on collateral source, but he doesn't love Texas on modified comparative fault. It's not fair to cherry pick and say Texas does this right, but we're not going to look at Texas on these other factors. So I think if you're going to pick Texas, fine. Let's pick Texas, and let Texas is not perfect.
So I know what you're talking about. What is modified comparative fault?
In Louisiana, if a plaintiff is 99% at fault for an accident, they still recover 1% of their claim.
Okay.
And in Texas, I believe it's if you're more than 50% fault, you get nothing. So if you have a wreck where it's 90% the plaintiff's fault and 10% the other guy's fault, well, the other guy's going to pay 10%.
Okay,
well, the problem is it's very, very easy to pump that claim up to be, $1 million claim. 10% of $1 million is going to pay out most policy limits. So what modified comparative fault would say, if you're more than 50% at fault, you can't recover at all. That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. If the wreck is mostly your fault,
you
shouldn't be able to recover.
Okay.
And so there's other things that are percolating their way through that we'll see. I 2 months. This will be my 15th year in the legislature. Never ever at the end has it been completely predictable. I mean, you've never been, I knew that was going to happen exactly that way.
Right.
It is a long, winding road, and there will be a lot of ups and downs. And what we end up with doesn't look anything like what we're starting with. So we're just going to have to see.
And you mentioned collateral source. The governor mentioned it. And Michael Mellerine, your associate, who was with me on one of these podcasts just recently, that was a bill he carried a year ago.
Yes.
The governor vetoed that, even though many people, including the commissioner, thought that should have gone through. What are your thoughts on that?
What's interesting is the governor is now touting Texas collateral source. Texas collateral source is actually better for the defendants than Mellerine's bill last year. So that's fine. I'll take Texas on collateral source because it's better than certainly better than what we have now, and it's better than Mellerine's bill would have been.
Okay.
So it's a little strange. I mean, we're actually going to end up with a better bill than we would have if he'd have passed, if he'd have signed the one last year. The one last year started out like Texas, and it got amended and modified by the trial lawyers as it made its way through the process. They watered it down, made it worse, and the governor still vetoed it.
How do you eliminate the influence of the trial lawyers in the Baton Rouge?
You can't.
You can't.
I mean, you can't. There's a lot of trial lawyers in the legislature, and quite frankly, they have the governor's ear. The governor hears from his constituents too. They want lower insurance rates, but the trial lawyers have his ear. So you're not. I mean, look, the trial lawyers got heavily involved in 7 Senate races, mine included. They lost all 7. And so the people of Louisiana know the trial lawyers are responsible, and it's a hidden tax for living in Louisiana. When you're paying those heightened insurance premiums, you're paying it because you live in Louisiana. You could move to Texas, and I have businesses in my district every year that move to Texas, especially loggers. It is so hard to get commercial vehicle coverage on a log truck in Louisiana that they're packing up and moving. They have pine trees in Texas too, that they're packing up and moving to Texas because they can't afford to do business here. And that puts the loggers out of business, and I mean it's really bad for the economy. It happens every year. So we can, the governor hears from both sides. The trial lawyers definitely have his ear. So as far as eliminating their influence, I mean the best thing to do is vote against their candidates, which I'm happy the people of District 31 did, because I mean, but they put a lot of money into my race,
I know,
trying to keep me out of the Senate, and they got involved in 6 other Senate races. Frankly, mine was the closest. They got obliterated in the other 6. So people know who the bad guy is. People know who's at fault.
They get it. Okay. And you won your race by what, 8 or 9
I won
points?
by 8. I was the closest.
That was still pretty good.
I had the best opponent of any of them.
Let's just. I know this is a fiscal session. You can carry 5 bills that aren't fiscally related, and you mentioned one of those. Any other bills you're going to carry this session?
Yeah, I have one that'll be in committee next week that I brought. This basically says no foreign money, no George Soros money can influence our elections. No money from outside the United States can be used to influence elections.
Okay.
Ballot initiatives, propositions, constitutional amendments, candidates. Unfortunately, it's a constitutional amendment. Those haven't fared well lately, so we'll see. I have a little bit of mixed emotions about bringing a constitutional amendment so soon after they all failed, but it's something that can't be fixed by statute. It can only be fixed by amending the Constitution.
Gotcha.
And I have several others, of course.
Okay. I want to this was kind of a, I don't want to say a pet project of yours, but it kind of is, speed zone cams. And I heard just this morning as I was coming into the studio here, Stuart Cathy, one of your colleagues, is carrying a bill to get rid of these things. You fought.
I don't think his bill gets rid of them.
I thought it did. Okay.
No, my bill last year got rid of them completely.
Okay.
What his bill did was regulate them.
Okay.
And if he has a bill to get rid of them, I haven't seen it. I did see one bill I thought was interesting. He's making it a crime of malfeasance in office for any public official to enter into a contract with a speed camera company.
Okay.
It's an interesting way to do it.
Okay.
And look, I fully support what he's doing. I did not bring a speed camera bill this year, but I'm certainly going to help him do that. I don't think he's trying to get rid of them.
Okay, I stand corrected.
And I guess making it a crime probably would get rid of them.
Well, I think he was talking about the signage and there was a lot of different things.
Last year, what he did was regulate based on the signage and the speed change, and he regulated them a lot.
If I also heard him right, and I may not have, it was kind of a backup bill that all the money that would be generated would go to the sheriffs and not the municipalities. And so I guess his point was if it was really about safety, then it should go to the sheriffs because they enforce safety.
I think he's on the right track with that. One of the reasons I brought the bill I did last year was because when you pay a traffic ticket that you get from an officer, the money goes to court costs.
Okay.
And what is court costs? Well, every parish has a statute that determines how the court costs are divided. In Caddo Parish, in most of Northwest Louisiana, that money goes to the crime lab.
Okay.
It goes to Crime Stoppers. It goes to Volunteers for Youth Justice. It goes to fund the clerk of court. There's various factors that are in that statute. When you get one of these traffic camera tickets, they bypass the court costs, which leaves the crime lab unfunded. And so it creates a vacuum that we have to come back and fill out of a different pocket of money. So I was fighting the traffic cameras simply because they bypass traditional court costs. So you can give the money to the sheriffs. I would rather they be distributed as court costs would be, because there's already a statute in every parish. They're different, but there's already a statute that tells what to do with the court costs. And we desperately need money for the North Louisiana Crime Lab.
Now, do you have to pay these fines? I heard him talking about on this radio interview, like you can turn the thing over, sign it or something, so you weren't driving the car. And
well, you can't lie. I mean, but yes, if the vehicle was not in your care, custody, and control, you can sign the back and say the vehicle was not in my care, custody, and control at the time of the ticket was issued, and then they're obligated to wipe it out. My favorite story is I got a picture last year of a ticket a guy sent me that he got in the mail, and it was a picture of his truck on the back of a tow truck. The tow truck driver that was towing his truck sped through a school zone, and he got a ticket mailed to him, and he sent in, said, if you just look at the picture, you can tell I'm not driving, my vehicle's being towed, and they denied his appeal.
Really?
I mean, that's absurd.
Of course it is.
That's absurd. So there's a lot of problem in it. The speeding statutes are criminal statutes, and yet they're trying to enforce them with a civil fine.
Yeah.
You're trying to enforce a criminal statute with a civil fine without a trial. I got a lot of problems with that. I just don't like how they're set up.
So, I mean, is it unconstitutional, or is that the...
I don't know that anybody's actually challenged it.
Okay.
I think it probably is. There's an attorney general opinion from 15 or 20 years ago that says you can't do it, that it's illegal, contrary to Louisiana law.
Yeah.
It's contrary to one statute. They say, we're not operating under that statute, we're operating under this statute. Well, if it's illegal under one area of law, it's probably illegal under another. I'm not aware of anybody actually challenging the current system in court. I think they probably should.
Yeah. But obviously you would support the Cathy's bill.
Yes, I'll support his bill. I'll support all of his bills if he's got more than one. I absolutely hate traffic cameras.
Yeah.
And I would like to see them out of... Texas just did away with them completely. Let's copy Texas. Let's do away with all of them.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, let's switch gears here a little bit. I want to ask you about one of your best friends, House Speaker Mike Johnson. He's doing a great job up there, he kind of outfoxed the Senate and Schumer on the continuing resolution, and I know you're so proud of him. And
I am, and I'm sorry, I'm
I
smiling.
can tell.
I am very proud of Mike. We are so lucky and blessed to have him representing us in Washington.
Yeah.
He's cut from a different cloth.
Yeah.
He's a truly exceptional person. He's an exceptional legislator. He's an exceptional member of Congress, and we're in good hands in Washington.
Yeah.
We in Northwest Louisiana are absolutely blessed to have him. But frankly, the whole country is blessed to have Mike occupying that office right now.
They've underestimated him too, haven't they, up there in D.C.?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things he used to joke about when he would litigate cases in Boston and, around the country. They would say, "Oh, what's this guy? He's an LSU grad. I mean, our lawyer went to Harvard."
Yeah.
And Mike would go clean his clock.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Mike is he's always punched above his weight, if you want to call it. He's always been underestimated.
Yeah.
Always. And he's always come out on top. And so I think keep underestimating him. That'll be fun.
They're trying to, as we record this, trying to get the finishing touches on the budget and the tax bill for the president. And I was just watching Mike make a speech about it. The man is so smooth in front of a camera, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. And he's very good. And what the fascinating thing for me, again, practicing law with him for years and then serving 2 years in the Louisiana legislature with him, is watching how people who vehemently disagree with his positions, how they react to him. Mm-hmm. He is well loved in Louisiana. I don't think this goes for Washington, but in the Louisiana legislature, the Democrats on the other side absolutely loved him as a person, and they got along great. And he just, watching him fight tooth and nail for a point and then still be beloved by the people on the other side.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to master that. My wife often suggests maybe I adopt some of Mike's techniques and mannerisms, because the other people on the other side tend to vilify me.
Well.
But Mike just has a way of disarming people, and he's very, very non-confrontational. He'll argue his point, he'll make his point, but he's not an in-your-face kind of attacking person. He's very logical. One of the smartest people I've ever known.
We're down to whatever, you got a couple minutes here. And I did want to give you a chance to talk about what happened with redistricting. You were at the Supreme Court recently when the Supreme Court heard that case about District 6 in Louisiana. So
that was a fascinating thing for me. I was in the House when the 2022 maps were drawn. I was in the Senate when the current maps were drawn. I testified in the trial, which ultimately the court ruled them unconstitutional, which I fully support. And then to be in the Supreme Court chamber when they actually argued the case that I was involved in every step of the way was truly fascinating. It was the courtroom is really small.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was really, really close to the Supreme Court justices. I do believe that they're going to throw the district out. Once they do that, remedy becomes a big question. Mm-hmm. What do? They could redraw it themselves. They could kick it back to the 3-judge panel in district court, have them redraw it. They could kick it back to the legislature, order us to redraw it. There's a multitude of remedies, which I'm not going to speculate on. Based on reading the justices, I do believe that they throw the district out. You just can't justify what the legislature did. Again, I'm very proud to have voted no, but they were ordered by a federal district judge to draw a second minority district based on race. Mm-hmm. It is a violation of the U.S. Constitution to have race as a primary factor in drawing a legislative district. Mm-hmm. And effectively, the argument in front of the Supreme Court was, is it okay to violate the Constitution if you're ordered to do so by a federal judge? And the answer can't possibly be yes. Mm-hmm. It can't possibly be yes. The Constitution trumps the Voting Rights Act. The Constitution trumps an order by a federal district court judge. So the answer can't be yes. So I think they have to throw it out. The legislative record is clear. They tried to argue that it was drawn for political purposes, drawn to protect Mike and Steve Scalise.
Right.
They didn't need to be protected. The old districts were perfectly fine. They were not in danger under the 2022 map. Mm-hmm. They didn't need a map to protect them. They were already protected.
Gotcha.
That's really a bogus argument.
Yeah.
The reason the district was drawn in the first place, and the reason it was drawn the way it was drawn, was to achieve a race-based result, which is a blatant violation of the 14th Amendment.
All right, that's going to about do it, but I want to call attention to something. Your footwear today. Tell us about that. We can kind of see them in the two-shot here, but they're interesting. Tell us about those boots.
These are alligator skin boots, an alligator that I killed in 2021.
Okay.
I just got them this week. Yeah. This that you can't see is the Senate seal, the Senate logo. I was actually a House member when I killed them. I didn't put the Senate logo on them until a few months ago. But these were an alligator that I killed in 2021. Took a very long time, but we finally got them this week. And they're a little tight, but I'm wearing them, trying to break them in. But we're going to get there. But I do like my boots.
Those are conversation starters, my friend.
They are. They are.
Okay. State Senator Alan Seabaugh. Look, there they are.
There you go. Got to zoom in on the,
Those are
on
awesome.
the Senate logo.
That's terrific. State Senator Alan Seabaugh and his alligator boots from District 31. Thanks for being with us, my friend.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate
that.
Always
Absolutely.
a pleasure.
All right. Thanks for watching this episode of the app, ArkLaTex People and Politics. You can catch it wherever you get your podcasts and on all KTBS digital channels. Thanks a lot. Have a good one, everybody.